It's time for another edition of The Blitz, and happy Memorial Day weekend to all of you inside the Globe Life studios here at the Star in Frisco. Bill Jones along with Nicole Hutchison. I know school's out for the summer for many out there, but school is in session here for the Cowboys. Started this past week really with the start of OTAs, continues for the next several weeks before they'll be out for the summer. Training camp will be here before you know it, but it's great seeing the team out on the practice field again this past week.
Yeah, seeing them out on the practice field has been great, but also the vibes have been great as well. The music's been blasting, so clearly everybody's pumped up to be here. I love to see it, Bill.
Yes, and of course we had an opportunity, the media in general around Dallas-Fort Worth, able to watch the practice on Tuesday. There was no Micah at practice on Tuesday. He was here on Monday. It underscores the fact these are voluntary workouts, right? Yeah,
I was going to say voluntary, okay? That's what we need to make sure is emphasized. But Micah Parsons, I mean, Shotty even said earlier this week in his press conferences when he told him that, hey, I need you to be here. He was here. He's been in and out of the building. He's helped with the team building, group activities. So that's something that he's obviously been a part of. So I'm not really worried about Micah Parsons. He knows that he's getting in his work despite not being here, so the trust factor is obviously there. But I mean, the goal of OTAs, voluntary OTAs right now, and Shotty even said, is just to make sure guys are listening, guys are asking questions, guys are able to apply what they're learning day one, day two to day three, and so forth, and how they're able to apply what they're learning from the previous day. So that's the goal, and hopefully Micah Parsons is out here soon.
Well, and then Micah has been involved in many of the activities that have been going on this spring for the Cowboys. All right, the guy that was out there that looked really good out there was number 4, and that would be Dak Prescott.
Absolutely, and he's all smiles as well. You gotta love seeing Dak Prescott all smiles. I mean, why not when you have now CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens on your roster? But no, he's been cleared to work. He's obviously had to battle with injuries in 3 of his past 5 seasons. So looking forward to seeing what Dak Prescott does. He's moving a lot better too. Threw a couple of nice passes in practice, connected with a couple of different receivers as well. So I'm excited, man. We get a healthy Dak Prescott in 2025. Bill, this is gonna be fun.
That's one of the keys, of course, to this team, but also, and we'll get into George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb coming up here in a little bit, for him to have the opportunity to be working with his receivers on a regular basis is huge, I think.
For sure, and they've also been getting in work outside of being here at the Star, so I think that's also something important to note as well. So the chemistry's been working on, they're continuing to build on top of that chemistry, and then only time will tell how that chemistry continues to form.
All right, we're just getting started on this edition of The Blitz. Later in the show, we'll break down what did and did not happen at the league meetings as far as some possible rule changes. And coming up next, it's CD, it's GP, it's CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens when the Blitz continues.
The Dallas Cowboys Blitz, presented by Blockchain.com, is brought to you by AT&T, an official sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys, and by Blockchain.com. Invest like your icons with Blockchain.com. This segment is brought to you by AT&T, official sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys.
We know each other very well. Obviously, he's a tall figure. Obviously, his ability to go up and get the ball at the highest point is amazing. I don't think anybody in the league that can really. I mean, he's up there with the guys in the league. You know, as far as 50-50 balls, deep threat, anything as far as running routes, it's pretty good. It's good to see.
So who is wide receiver 1 on this team? Welcome back to the Blitz. Bill Jones and Nicole Hutchison. And there's no AB, there's CD, and there's GP. CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens. And wow, they are really inseparable out there on the practice field. In fact, we're taping the show right here inside the TV studio here. We're looking out on the practice field during the OTA, and they're on the jugs machine together. They go everywhere together, it seems like, already.
They literally go everywhere together. I mean, inseparable is the perfect word to describe these two since GP has gotten here in Dallas, which is why I don't really understand the conversation of can they really have a number 1 wide receiver or 2 number 1 wide receivers, right? Because, I mean, these are 2 reliable players playmakers. You look around the NFL and what passing offenses have the most success. They don't have just one reliable playmaker in the receiving game. They have multiple. So what's wrong with Dallas now having CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens, Jalen Tolbert, the list goes on. But, I mean, the question is, are they selfish? Well, Brian Schottenheimer answered that question. They are both unselfish. Dak Prescott said the same thing, and he said that he's already starting to have those conversations with these two guys about whether or not maybe week 1 and maybe you, CD, having to hold the weight. Week 2 is probably going to be GP. So they understand that, which is what I love to hear from Dak earlier this week. And I'm excited to see what these two guys do together, Bill.
I think it says a lot about CD. Here's a guy with 236 receptions the last 2 seasons. And he's got wide receiver 1 numbers, and he's accepting of his new teammate. Let's hear what George Pickens has to say.
You found out about the trade with CD, one of the first people you reached out to?
He was actually one of the first people to reach out to me, besides Jerry and, the actual people. But, as far as players, he's one of the first players.
What was that conversation like with you two? Was it just...
Like I told him, just good vibes. He was super happy. Some of the guys on defense as well, whole team super happy.
All right, good vibes at the top of the depth chart. What about the rest of the wide receivers? There's really good competition on this depth chart right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Good competition. But I actually got a chance to hear from Jalen Tolbert in locker room earlier this week and asked him, has George Pickens kind of raised the bar for you guys? And he said, honestly, the bar was already raised before GP even got here. So with Brian Schottenheimer kind of creating that culture. But, I mean, my thoughts are Jalen Tolbert finishing off a career best in 2024. He's looking to elevate himself. Kevontae Turpin, the fastest guy in the NFL. You have to incorporate him in this offense as well. So the competition is going to be a lot of fun to watch. But Jalen Crawford, who has had a great training camp the last couple of seasons, had a couple of good catches in earlier this week in OTAs, but I really think it's going to come down to Jalen Tolbert. It's going to come down to Kevontae Turpin, and you got to also mention Jonathan Mingo, who they traded for a 4th-round pick.
Yep, you got a 6th-round draft pick from last year, Ryan Flanoy. You got Jalen Brooks as well. It's going to be very interesting, not only here in the offseason, but also in training camp. All right, the Blitz continues in just a moment. Kyle Yeomans joins us, and what did the owners vote for and against at the meetings this week?
This segment was brought to you by AT&T, official sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys. This segment is brought to you by Reliant, the official energy provider of the Dallas Cowboys.
This week in Cowboys history, AT&T Stadium officially opened its massive West End doors to the public for the very first time with a ribbon-cutting ceremony 16 years ago. Since then, the stadium has become known for not just football, but basketball, world-class concerts, world championship rodeos, and soon to host 9 World Cup soccer games, to mention only a few.
Why is it Nick Chubb signed, and does he work for Dallas? I see this happen on a fairly consistent basis. I think, we just did the Madden Sims. Madden is extremely guilty of this. Relying on previous years of you were good 3 years ago, you're still good now. Nick Chubb has been, I think, one of the cooler backs in football. If you just like running, he's been up there. He's been awesome. Frankly, Nick Chubb was really bad last year. Really bad. And he's coming off another season-ending injury. I think if you bring in Nick Chubb, you're not guaranteeing him anything. I wouldn't even give him the Zeke contract, because the Zeke contract essentially guaranteed him a roster spot. I am not doing that. I might give him 1 year, $2 million, 1 year guaranteed incentives that are all unlikely to be earned. I think the Bears might end up adding him. That would not be a surprise. It's been kind of linked for a long time. I am down to add Nick Chubb. Competition is competition, but I'm not going to guarantee him anything. So be honest. Would you sign Nick Chubb? Someone just said if we have Hooker, we should sign Chubb. Oh, you guys kill me. Why for yes and for no?